Welcome to the Stop Down Photography Podcast, Episode 12. I'm your host, Scott Davenport, and today's topic is the creative struggle. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Today's topic stems from something all creatives face. Whatever your art form you've chosen to express yourself, it's the struggle to be creative. For photographers, we get an image in our mind's eye and we wrestle and struggle to bring that image into the world. Struggle is certainly an ongoing part of my photographic journey. There's something I want to express, and some days it just flows. The capture's good, the processing's good, it's smooth, it's fluid, it's frictionless, and other days it is a grind. I've got a concept, I can't even articulate it sometimes. I can't will it into being. The camera work falls short, and the struggle begins. What prompted me to choose this topic is an ongoing struggle I've had for the last couple of years, on and off, with a black and white project. I've captured frames, I've pushed them around in the computer. I have this notion of what the photos should look like, but I can't quite get them exactly where I want them to be. I've hit a bit of a wall, and it's been frustrating. So I thought I'd share some thoughts about creativity, about the struggle. And admittedly, these are thoughts. They're not necessarily really refined, articulated, go do these things and you'll bust through a creative wall. I suppose if I could do that, I should go write a book, sell millions of copies, and retire. But I thought this would be a worthy topic to share because I expect you have had a similar creative struggle. Let me first take a step back and talk about a growth path I think most photographers follow, at least in the early stages when we first get engaged with photography. We don't know pretty much anything about photography. We absorb, we read, we practice, we take photos of everything. We may not know what subjects ultimately become our passion. And our skills improve by leaps and bounds, and they improve fast. And that makes sense, right? You're starting from zero. There's only upside. We're eager to share our photos because we've learned so much. And most of the time, our photos are okay. They're all right. They're not killers, but they're not horrible. And at least that was true for me. And then we learn more. And then we realize we don't know as much as we thought we did. And there starts to become this inflection point. Have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger curve? These are a couple of, I believe they were psychologists as opposed to psychiatrists. But they did an experiment to map out the notion that people that think they know a lot about a subject will profess to know more than they do. And then there's an inflection where someone who is actually an expert in a field will think they don't really know everything. Now, that inflection point, when we hit that in our photographic journey, we cross from this environment of rapid growth, vast improvement, to, at best, small incremental improvements, along with increased self-reflection and self-criticality. On my journey, I think I've crossed that inflection point. I know I'm not the greatest gift to photography. I'm pretty good, but I have loads to learn. I know that I don't know. And with that Socratic realization, the heaviness of creativity bears down. The adage of you are what you create. Well then, if I'm putting a piece of work out into the world, it better be good, or I'm not good. And that's a heavy, heavy feeling. And so begins the struggle. Inside, we want to create. We want to make something. We want to express and to contribute our work to the world. Outside, specters of fear, uncertainty, and doubt will start tugging on your insecurities. Are you sure you want to share that? Are you sure you can't do better? And it's tempting to give in, and it's tempting to stop creating or stop sharing your work. But don't. I'm here to tell you, if you felt this way, and maybe you're feeling that way right now about your photography, you're in good company. Every photographer, every creative has a struggle. It's part of being a creative person. I listened to an interview with Vince Gilligan a few weeks ago. that frames this very nicely. Now, Vince is a television writer. If you've ever watched Breaking Bad, you can thank Vince. He created that show, wrote it, directed, produced it. He did work on the X-Files as well. He's been around for a while. He's been writing for a long time. In this interview, Vince talked about his own struggles with writing. He talked about how he didn't write every day like he should, because that's what writers do, right? They sit down every day and they write every day. And he had a level of guilt with that. He almost didn't launch Breaking Bad because he wasn't particularly happy with the character at the time, or it was too similar to something else. He wasn't sure, is this the best I can do? And he compared the struggle he had with writing to the stories that we all love. It kind of goes like this. Think of your favorite book or your favorite movie. Could be fact, could be fiction. What is it that makes it your favorite? Would you want the story to jump immediately from here's this character to and happily ever after? No, of course not. The protagonist has to overcome a hardship. As a reader or as a viewer, we want to see the character struggle, not because we like struggle. We want to bear witness to her or his triumph over adversity. And Vince wrapped this up really nicely. Said, the struggle is part of the stories that we love. And why should our own lives be any different? As I've spent time thinking about my creative struggle, both those in the past and presently, there were a few themes that emerged and what we might be able to do to wriggle out of it or push through past the struggle. So I have 3 things I'm going to share with you, and caveats here. This is definitely an incomplete list. I'm going to talk about things that are by and large sourced from within, within the artist, when our own minds get in the way of moving forward. There can be a host of external obstacles to overcome. I'm going to focus on those that are sourced from within. So here's a few ideas and a few themes I've noticed with my own struggles. Number 1 is being paralyzed by perfection. I can't share the work if it's not quote unquote perfect. When I stop and I think, is there such a thing as perfection? Perfect for whom? Perfect for me? Perfect for my viewer? A viewer that I've never met? You can get your mind wound around this axle pretty quickly, and it can be debilitating, paralyzing. You're paralyzed by perfection. Now, I'll argue the positives about sharing your best work. That's important, share your best work. But I stress the your part of that. It's your best work, not somebody else's best work. I've talked a couple of times already on the podcast about comparing yourself to yourself. That holds true here. A little small aside, the paralyzed by perfection thing. You kind of know I'm a Beatles nut if you listen to the George Harrison episode. There's a song on Abbey Road called Polythene Pam, and there's a bass flub in it. McCartney made a mistake in the studio, slid past a note a little bit too far, and he heard that in the recording and jumped up to go down and fix it. And the sound engineers and the producers said, no, don't do that. That sounds really good. And they actually accentuated the flaw in the final recording and mastering so that it stands out. If you're familiar with the album or you listen to the song, go back and listen to it. It's when they start roll out of the end of that song, bleeding into the next track on the album. She came in through the bathroom window. You'll hear it. It's this out of place note, and it's accentuated, and it's really cool. So sometimes we can actually turn an imperfection into a signature of a work. Anyway, for me, I've gotten over this particular hurdle by and large. I know not every single photo I share can be bigger and better than the last photo I shared. That's unsustainable. I'll share the best work that I have at the time I'm sharing something from a particular shoot or a particular time frame of my photography. And I know if I keep working, photo by photo, I'm one closer to my next great shot. Number 2, I'll call failure to launch. So the hamster wheel spinning inside the creative brain is always generating ideas, and not picking one and not putting it into action becomes a problem for creatives. We like to generate ideas. I'm certainly guilty of this. I have lots of ideas that I've not seen through. The black and white project I mentioned is one of them. I'm 2 years into this project, and if I'm honest with myself, I haven't dedicated the time to really going and seeing it through. Some other things I've not completed are educational. I have a bunch of video course ideas. I've got a half-completed course outline on a long exposure photography course. It's a year plus now, and it's just collecting virtual dust, and new ideas keep coming in. There gets to a point where, as fun and exciting as generating new ideas is, because we're creatives, we get excited about the new, the novel, the fresh. Actually executing on an idea, that takes time, and that often involves more mundane things. But you have to carve out time to put the ideas into action, to launch your photo project, see it through. You can only work on so many things at a time, and you have to choose one and start on it and work it. Make a to-do list, give yourself a deadline. That works for me quite a bit. If I have a project that's due for a client or a partner, that definitely gets me moving on it. So I can self-impose a deadline and say, I need to have this done by a certain date. That helps me just choose it, work on it, dedicate the time to it. There's a good article on Medium called The Creative Struggle and 5 Ways You Can Get Things Done. It's geared a little more toward launching a product, but the principles apply to personal projects as well. I'll leave a link in the show notes so you can check that article out. Number 3, I'll call diffused soft focus. And yes, I'm using a little photographic pun here. We're always capable of finding distractions, right? It's easy to do in today's world with social media, endless supply of information and entertainment through news feeds and video feeds. And instead of working with the camera or working on my to-do list for a project that I want to do, I'll instead go watch one more YouTube video or listen to one more podcast. And sometimes also creatives can't turn off our minds. The new ideas just keep flying in, and it's hard to stay focused. And sometimes when we do get focused back on photography, we are tempted to return to a place of familiarity. And I know I'm guilty of this too. I mean, I've got the weekly podcast. I make several videos each week. There are some weeks I feel oversubscribed, and it's easy to fall into the trap of, well, let me just turn the crank on the things that I produce each week, and then I don't spend time on personal projects or growing the craft. And that, it feeds back into having a creative struggle, and that initial inertia to overcome sometimes can be harder and harder. So carving out time and consciously saying, I recognize I'm not focusing on this, I need to focus on that. It kind of connects back with failure to launch. Get yourself back and motivated. So maybe this diffused soft focus is self-awareness and recognizing when you're falling into that pattern of familiar comfort zones or seeking out distractions as an air quotes excuse for not working on your next photo project or not taking on that next level of learning for your craft. And a final thought, maybe an overarching way to work through any type of creative struggle, is talking with other photographers, talk with other artists, learn from them, share your stories, listen to their stories. How did they push through their most recent creative struggle? And I say most recent because it won't be the last struggle we face. I have a question for you this week I'd like to get your feedback on. It's gearing toward a future episode. What is your photography albatross? And what I mean by that, we started photography, at least most of us probably, because we love photography. And when we do something we love, it doesn't feel like work. But there is always part of the process that is a little mundane and not our favorite thing. It's the thing that is most burdensome. So what is your photography albatross? You can leave a comment on stopdownpodcast.com, or if you want to keep it private, there's a contact form there. When you're leaving comments, you just need to provide some first name, and you can leave a comment as a guest. You don't have to do a full-on sign-in on the website. But I'd like to hear from you. What's the thing that is most burdensome about your photography for you? It could be anything. It could be the act of shooting. It could be post-processing. It could be anything. Breeding, tagging, the mundane stuff. I want to hear from you. Let me know what your thoughts are. That wraps up this week's episode. If you're in a creative struggle right now, I hope this gives you some tools to work through it. If you have a creative struggle in the future, then maybe you'll come back to this episode and it will help you out. Just know you're not alone. Every photographer has these same struggles. You will emerge from it and you will be stronger on the other side. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review it in Apple Podcasts or any of the podcatchers you're using. You can find episodes at stopdownpodcast.com, Google, Stitcher, Spotify, everywhere that you get podcasts. Until next time, my name is Scott Davenport, and have fun.